What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about Predator Hunting Grounds review score. So I know this could be a kind of different video that maybe not a lot of people are expecting. I actually normally would have covered what reviews were saying about this game when they happened, but I actually kind of forgot that reviews of this game even came out, kind of because I was so engrossed in playing it, getting other, again, more like informative videos, which we've done a lot of on this channel and the second channel, which I always leave in the description below so you guys can check out. But then I saw an interesting thing on Twitter, and I saw kind of an Xbox versus PlayStation thing happening, right? And an Xbox, it was Ryan McCaffrey from IGN, okay, big Xbox guy, and he was tweeting out the review scores of some Xbox games and like Xbox games to come and how they're going to have such an amazing year, and then people were coming back at him with Sony, and then people kind of came back at that with the review scores for Predator and saying like, oof, like this is a bad one, right? And so you don't really have a lot to go off of. And I was like, and that was the first time I saw the review scores for Predator Hunting Grounds. I was like, oh my god, that's what people are giving the review scores for this game. So I went to check it out, and man, it's not getting good reviews. It's got a 57 on Metacritic, 57 out of 100. Now, when it comes to like Rotten Tomatoes, sometimes those middle of the area review scores are like better than you would expect, right? So if a movie gets like a 45 to like a 65, like every movie seemingly under the sun all of a sudden gets like in the 90s, and then some movies have like an agenda, or people have an agenda against a movie, and so it gets bad scores or good scores. You have all this political kind of stuff with it. With video games, we're not really used to seeing this, especially this year. This year, we've gotten a lot of really good games. We had Dreams, we've had Final Fantasy VII, we've had Doom, we've had Animal Crossing, we've had Neo. We've had so many games we're used to seeing in the 8s, we're used to seeing in the 9s, as like a cumulative average, right? Like of everybody saying it. Predator, 57. And it's like in yellow, so it's kind of like, ooh, this is the iffy one. And if you go to it, there's one positive score, which I believe is like a 71 or higher. There's 17 middle scores, and then there's 2 bad scores. So they haven't really covered that many people talking about this game, right? I believe there's 20 reviews that they have of this game. And I was trying to read through as many of them as I could. The actual user score, though, is a 6.8, so a little bit higher. Now, here's the deal. There's a couple things I do want to talk about this. One, do I think that some of the things they're saying are warranted against Predator? Yeah, I actually do. Two, I really don't love review scores. It's something that I feel like as the channel will grow and as you guys get to know me more, obviously, a lot of people I feel like more and more are coming in that are brand new, that have never heard me talk before. And if you guys have been watching for a while, you know that I don't do review scores. I don't like review scores. I don't really review things all that much on the channel, but if I do, I don't give like a number grade. I say if you should buy it, if it's a game, you should buy it. You should not buy it. If it's a movie, you should go see it. You should rent it. Whatever. That kind of style is what I do, because ultimately I kind of think like it's either you're going to enjoy it, or you should get it, or you shouldn't get it, and you're not going to enjoy it. And there's different levels to that, right? I think, and especially with Predator, that's where kind of like the clauses come into effect, where it's like some games or movies I give the benefit of the doubt to more often than others, like Pirates of the Caribbean, those movies. Like, I understand that they're not everybody's favorites, and you can poke a lot of holes, and the review scores, they're the last, like, ever since, like, the first Pirates, basically, they've all gone downhill, and the review scores are normally, like, in the 30s or 40s, right? Considered bad movies, but I love them. I mean, I absolutely adore Pirates 3, things like that. At the same time, like Transformers, those have bad scores, and I bag on them because I just really don't like the way they've done all these new Transformers movies. But, if you're a hardcore fan, you kind of find things that you like about it, and then you could argue, well, if you're not, like, in this fandom group, you can't really talk about it. And I don't want to be hypocrite. I try not to be a hypocrite as much as humanly possible, right? So I try to pick, but I understand that. Like with Pirates of the Caribbean, I am in that group where it's like, well, I'm trying to find all the positives, and I'm trying to talk about the property as if you're already a fan, right? Of course, if you don't like the movie, you're not going to like the 5th installment. Or if you don't like Transformers, you're not going to like the 5th. So, like, I understand that I'm backwards with that, with, like, Transformers. So those are examples there. But honestly, I think, like, me saying all that, why I say all that, it applies, I think, directly to Predator, where it's like, I get the review scores. I get why people can give it that score. With that being said, I don't like review scores. I think it should ultimately come down to, should you get it, should you not get it? And then you could even add on top of that, like, well, if you're a fan, it's even more like you're probably going to enjoy this. So here's what I take away from it. They're basically going after all of the bugs, all of the problems with this game, which there are countless, and there is a lot of things that they need to fix. I've seen a lot of people go after that, like the Predator just doesn't seem powerful enough. They don't give them enough tools to kind of like divide and conquer all the fire team. Understandable. I've seen a lot of people, the same kind of phrases, by the way, pop up in all of these, where it's like there is fun to be had. You just have to go searching for it. Like it doesn't come with every match. And you know what? All of those things we have said, right? I've talked about how like matches that sometimes I play matches and the Predator attacks us too early, right? Is not a good Predator. Attacks and we eliminate him within the first 3 to 5 minutes and the match is over and it's so quick and it's like, well, we got rid of the Predator and we got all this XP and like it was, I guess, enjoyable for that respect, but in general, we didn't really do much. It was too short. It didn't really have a lot going on, and you kind of feel like disappointed by the match. And sometimes you can have multiple of those matches back to back to back, right? And then all of a sudden, the game doesn't feel as great. I understand that. I've had those experiences, so I understand where you get these review scores, but again, I feel like they're a bit too harsh. I really do. I do think they're too harsh because I feel like a lot of it comes down again to what people expected and like people getting caught off guard basically. Now again, I think that comes from a place of, well, they aren't ones that were talking about this game like religiously, and that happens, and I feel like I'm going to have that opinion more and more again as the channel grows. Like we talk about Batman like every couple of days. I make a Batman Arkham video. I love those games, and I've been talking about this new rumored one for like a year, and nobody else does. And so when the game comes out, and then all of these people say like, oh, it's not what I was expecting, and it's like, well, do you really have a place to talk? Because you just kind of jumped in at the last, like IGN, you just jumped in at the last second, reviewed it because that's your job, right? You need to cover all these games. You reviewed it, but you don't really care, and you haven't cared for like the past year. You're just doing it now when it releases. And you could say, well, that's just the way that things are. But ultimately, I feel like with all of these games, all of these movies, if they strike a chord in you and they connect to you in some way, or you're passionate about them, everybody, or some person will have that with some property at any given time, right? You may have that for Predator, I may have that for Pirates, somebody else may have it for, pick a some music artist, right? Some video game, some movie, some TV show. Everybody has those things, so it's tough. It's really tough to kind of find a balance. But I ultimately come at it again from like, should you buy it, should you not? And I think the review scores are too low. I think ultimately, if you have been following this game for like a year, which we have, right? Talking on this channel, all that stuff. And I haven't even done it like that religion. I haven't made a video every single week. I spaced it out as we got closer to the game. I started doing it weekly. Now I'm doing it like every day. I'm going to be covering it, when they do DLCs and updates and all that kind of stuff. Like we'll be covering it. So like, we have that. We have that going for us. For the people like that, I think we knew what we were getting in for. And especially if you played the trial. That's the biggest thing to me. Sounds like from these reviews, they didn't play the trial, because if they played the trial, they would have known what to expect from the game. Now, again, does that mean you can't, and this whole thing, I don't want you guys to get confused, like you can't criticize the game. No, you can absolutely criticize the game. I'm just saying, if you played the trial, you were going into this game with a different set of expectations, right? If you played the trial, you were going into this game, you knew what you were going in for. And also, if you like just pay attention and this is IllFonic and you've been watching these videos, or you've been watching any Predator video since the game got announced, you'd probably know, all right, it probably isn't going to work very well. Like graphically, frame rate, servers are probably going to be broken. Like those things, those are things we should expect. We shouldn't, because that's not what actually should happen in the game. But we kind of know that like that's probably going to happen. So we have our expectation there going in, right? Again, we can criticize them when it happens, but we know to expect it. I feel like that kind of all put together is my feelings on this. I think 57. Like I don't give review scores. I'd say this is a game that if you're into this kind of stuff, you buy. If you're a Predator fan, I think you buy this. If you like the multiplayer kind of co-op, aspect of games, I think this is something that you really need to take a look at. Really, because I kind of got it because I saw the potential. Right, even when they first announced this game, I saw the potential of a game like this. I had played Friday the 13th. We've talked all about, my mixed feelings about my initial absolute love of that game and respect for them, and like Dead by Daylight, all those kind of games. I saw the potential of a game like this. So I started talking about this solely based off of potential, not necessarily what we were going to get day one, because I knew that it may not be that great and we would have to kind of work for it to be good. But you know what? Ultimately, when you play this game, my honest feelings about this game is I really do like it, and I think that it's better than I expected it. It's better day one, day two, day three than I would have thought it was going to be. And so I think, truthfully, this is my truthful opinion, I think they have a better base to build off of here than they did Friday the 13th. And I loved Friday the 13th, and I played that game religiously for like 2 months, 3 months, and then once they stopped doing anything for it, once I realized that the issues were still there and they weren't going away, I stepped back. Predator, it has a lot of those same issues, and I want them fixed. And if they're not fixed, I'm going to have some issues, and we'll have to address those. But I think they're starting off on a much stronger base. And again, can you put that in a review? Can you put that in a review score? Not necessarily, but that's why I think reviews in general are kind of broken and need to be moved away from. I think this is a very good game for what it is. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to a single-player game? You're comparing it to an open-world game? You're comparing it to a JRPG? What are you comparing it to? If you're comparing it to these kind of games, I think it fits right in. Like similar games that are in the same kind of genre, I think it's got a lot of flaws, but I think it fits right in with any other game you can think of that's in this genre. And that, I think, should have maybe been the angle of more of these review scores. But I was caught off guard. I didn't necessarily know what to expect from reviews. I guess I probably thought it would get somewhere in like the 7s. Like that seems like a reasonable range, right? When I saw 57, I was like, oh my God, people are getting it 5s, people are giving it 4s, people are giving it 3s, people are giving it low scores. Again, only 20 review sites. I mean, what else are they playing? There's not that many games out right now, so I don't know why there isn't 30, 40, 50 review sites that are added. Maybe by the time you guys see this, maybe as the days go on, they'll add more. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so maybe as the days go on, they'll add more review scores. But guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think of these review scores? Do you think what they're saying is warranted? What are your what would you give this game? What's your review of Predator Hunting Grounds? Let me know. As always, let me know as well if you guys want me to make, or what kind of specific videos you want me to make on Predator. I got a couple more ideas. We're going to be continuing. Again, we'll talk about when they release that roadmap, whenever that happens to be. We'll talk about that. We'll go through all that kind of stuff over the coming weeks. I'm not stopping the coverage. We'll have more live streams. We'll be playing this game more often. This is a game I truly do want to support going forward in the long term. I hope that they support this game going forward so that I can keep covering it. I can keep playing it. And I honestly think they will. So more videos coming, guys, very, very soon. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.